Coming up on Tech News Today, Amazon Video comes to the iPod, Star Wars is now free, and hot presentation slides. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, August 1st, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by the Mars Curiosity Landing. Tune in to live coverage this Sunday, August 5th at 10 p.m. Pacific at live.twit.tv for live breaking news coverage of whether it crashes or not. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we keep you up to date on the most important stories in the tech world. Try to put them in context for you, starting with the top 10 stories of the day in the News Fuse. Despite that explosive intro to the News Fuse, Samsung won a small victory on Monday in their patent battle with Apple. The United States Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit extended the suspension of the preliminary injunction on the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. That means they can keep selling the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. However, in district court in San Jose, Samsung got in trouble for telling the press about evidence that the judge has excluded from the trial. Samsung claims the excluded design would have helped them prove they didn't copy the iPhone. Samsung told the court the information was publicly available anyway, so they shouldn't be in trouble for talking about it outside the courtroom.
Good news for Amazon lovers who also own iPads. The company has released Instant Video, a new video streaming app which has a lot of Kindle Fire functionality, including streaming access to thousands of titles available to Amazon Prime subscribers. Although you only get a selection of top Prime instant video titles, at least for now. But here's a plus: offline viewing options for movies and shows purchased or rented through Amazon. In Amazon Cloud Player news, the company wrapped up licensing agreements with Sony, EMI, Universal, Warner, and as they say, more than 150 indie labels and distributors, and has rolled out a new scan and match service.
Today is a historic day, ladies and gentlemen. Microsoft announced that Windows 8 development is complete and release to manufacturing code will be delivered to hardware partners in the next few days.
Yay.
Windows 8 will officially launch on October 26th, but if you're in MSDN or a TechNet customer, you'll be able to download the final version on August 15th. Also on that date, the Windows Store goes live.
Nice. Google's getting serious about forcing developers to use the Google Play system to sell apps to Android users. Chris Yerga, engineering director for Google Play, told Inside Mobile Apps that Google is, quote, making it explicit for applications and in-app purchases that developers are required to use the Google Play system. Developers have 30 days to comply, although Google will make exceptions for apps that sell physical goods or services such as movie tickets.
AMD has announced it's hired away Jim Keller, the head of Apple's chip design operations, to run its chief microprocessor architect. Keller had been with Apple since 2008 acquisition of a company called PI Semi. His primary job had been to work on Apple's A4 and A5 processors. Those are the ones that go inside the iPhone and iPad. Keller's no stranger to AMD's business, though. In fact, he was the original architect of AMD's Athlon line of processors.
The Roku streaming stick will launch this year and will work with devices from a bunch of partners, including Hitachi, Best Buy's house brand Insignia, Onkyo, Oppo, and more. If you forgot, the Roku streaming stick is that USB-sized version of the Roku set-top box that uses MHL to connect. How will you be able to tell what device can handle the tiny Roku? Well, you'll see this little Roku Ready logo on boxes. Oh, yeah, no pricing or hard dates were announced.
Roku, Onkyo, Oppo. Following up on the reinstatement of reporter Guy Adams' Twitter account yesterday, Twitter posted an explanation and an apology on their blog Monday afternoon. NBC has also issued a statement indicating they have withdrawn their complaint against Adams. Twitter apologized for proactively telling NBC about the offending post in which Mr. Adams encouraged people to email President of NBC Olympics, Gary Zenkel.
Are you a Verizon customer who just like to download an Android app that will turn your phone into a mobile hotspot and feels slighted by Verizon, who blocks apps like that because they don't want you getting around their $20 mobile hotspot fee? If the answer is yes, the FCC is on your side and has determined Verizon can't enforce this because it had purchased spectrum back in 2008 that requires it to open to allow open access to its network. Verizon has settled with the FCC to the tune of a $1.25 million payment to the U.S. Treasury.
I like that tune. Can you play me that tune?
I'd love that
as long
tune.
as I'm getting the 1.25 million.
Right.
So, Dropbox has the final results of their investigation of allegations that spammers had gained access to Dropbox user email addresses. Turns out a Dropbox employee email account was accessed by a third party, and a document full of email addresses was obtained there. In an unrelated breach, Dropbox revealed hackers had accessed Dropbox user accounts by using passwords taken from non-Dropbox sites. The company announced new security policies will come soon, including two-factor authentication, and urged users don't use the same password in multiple places. That's how all this stuff starts to happen.
Psst. Want to see some really hot presentation slides?
Yeah.
Come here. The Verge published slides of Lenovo's 10-inch Windows 8-powered ThinkPad tablet 2 and its optional keyboard, dock, and stylus. Inside the tablet, you're going to find an Intel dual-core Clover Trail processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage, and expect the launch to coincide with that Windows 8 launch in October.
And it's all coming together at the end of October, isn't it?
That's right.
All right. Well, let's dig a little deeper into the stories today. Joining us now from CNET, senior editor Eric Franklin, back on the show. Welcome back, Eric.
Thank you for having me back.
It is always good to have you back, my friend.
Thank you.
We've got
good to be back.
We've got some good stuff to talk about today, but first, let's keep you up to date on what's going on with Samsung and Apple. We have a responsibility to do this.
Yeah, so you mentioned in the news views that all is not going poorly for Samsung, but there has been some drama this week as the epic Samsung Apple trial has gotten underway in San Jose, California. So yesterday afternoon, it was after this episode of the show, Samsung issued a press release basically detailing what Judge Lucy Koh, who's presiding over the case, refused to hear in court. This is based on Samsung saying we had... well, I'll actually just read you the release.
Okay, that's easier.
The release, I know, it's like, for me to paraphrase it, it won't do anybody any good. The release says the judge's exclusion of evidence on independent creation meant that even though Apple was allowed to inaccurately argue to the jury that the F700 was an iPhone copy, Samsung was not allowed to tell the jury the full story and show the pre-iPhone design for that and other phones that were in development at Samsung in 2006 before the iPhone. So Samsung is kind of taking it to the streets in a way. This is a public release. This was sent to news outlets who republished it.
And it seems like it makes sense hearing just Samsung's side of the story. Is like, hey, we have a previous version that if you look at it, it's obvious that we made this before the iPhone, right?
Well, you might think that Samsung's saying, well, the court is just being totally unreasonable. Here's how the scene went down. Samsung lawyer John Quinn asks the court to hear further arguments and allow evidence showing these early designs for the P700, saying this predates the iPhone and you've got to allow this. Judge Lucy Koh says no, and you've already you've tried to include this several times. I've already heard 3 motions to reconsider.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going in a circle. You keep asking and I keep denying and we're moving on. Quinn at this point says, I'm begging you. I am begging you to let me enter this evidence into the trial. I haven't even done something like this in my 30-plus years of law. So very dramatic. Koh says, no, you've made your record for appeal. Don't make me sanction you. Oh, yeah. Now, what I see kind of happening is, I mean, clearly the Samsung lawyer feels this is something that would possibly turn around the case. And maybe they don't feel like their case is strong enough as it is. This is really good evidence. It's very, very frustrating not to be able to enter it into evidence in the trial. So they go public and they say, all right, well, at least we'll get maybe the strength of public opinion. I'm not sure. Iyaz, I'm sure as a lawyer, you know a little bit more.
He looks like he's in pain.
I'm like, this is the biggest jerk move ever, Samsung. If you're going to go and do this, this is not going to help your case at all. It's not going to give the judge is not going to be in your favor already. You've irritated Judge Koh to the point where she's like, don't make me sanction you. This is something that could throw you in contempt. This is a really stupid move. It's like if you want to show ill will, this is a good idea. It's just like when that lawyer for that whole oatmeal case was like, I'm going to find something to take this guy down. It's like, you don't do this. Now, granted, that jury in the Samsung Apple case is probably not going to know about this, assuming they're not getting outside information.
As long as they're following orders, yeah.
But effectively, Samsung is like poisoning like a jury pool of the rest of the people, because if there's an appeal and there's this information out there, this is going to be something that if there's well, let's say this case goes to trial, finishes off, guess what? An appeal, there'll be a new jury brought in. Well, maybe if there's a jury, maybe it won't be that kind of thing. But it's just a really dumb move from Samsung, other than the fact they think they're getting their message out there. But, I mean, I think Judge Koh was like, I want to talk to your legal team and who approved this to go out. Because this should not have happened.
Yeah, not only has Apple said that this PR move is contemptible, but Judge Koh wants to see Quinn and wants to know who drafted this press release and then who authorized it from Samsung's legal team. I'm not sure if this gets somebody kicked off of a case. I don't know how far this could go, but that is a very good point about future appeals.
According to CNET this morning, Samsung has made their case to Koh, saying this information was out in the public. This was not, we didn't leak it just from the evidence documents. We're talking to the press about something that already was out there. And so
that's a little different, though.
I mean, why they're talking about is obviously related to the court case, but simply the fact that they're talking about something that's out there, I mean, they're not taking it from something that wouldn't otherwise be public. That's their argument.
This is like movie-style stuff. You're not supposed to do this as a lawyer. That's the thing. Like, you know, where someone's like, oh, you can't use the insanity defense, and then a lawyer brings it up and it needs to be stricken, but the jury heard it already. This is that same kind of thing. This isn't supposed to
Except he's not bringing it up in front of the jury.
The fact that they brought it up in public after being denied putting it into evidence is the issue here. It's like, this shouldn't have happened. This is a bad thing for Samsung.
Well, can't I go to outside of the courtroom and say, hey, I wanted to show this picture in the courtroom, but they won't admit it as evidence, but it's a picture everybody's seen before. That's not okay?
It's the timing. It's a really bad timing thing. I mean, sure, it's okay. It's kind of like if, let me see your books, I want to merge with you, and I'm going to see your patents, and then I somehow come up with the same kind of concept or trade secret. It's like, well, you know, it kind of shows there's some ill intent there. It's just, it's not going to look.
So it's the motivation, not the fact.
Right. I think Judge Koh is going to be pretty strict on Samsung now for anything they want, because
yeah, this was sending a message, wasn't it? This wasn't just coincidental. Oh, we were about to release it anyway. What you told us in court about us not being able to enter it as evidence, really just weird timing.
They could have published their own ads, you know, like months ago. This case has been going on for a long time. It's just now the jury selection. So they could have published this information 6-7 months ago or something. If it's already public, why not?
Well, they didn't send a general press release. They said they just talked to the press about it. So they're trying to slice it pretty fine.
Maybe Samsung, no matter what happens here, it's very important for them to have public opinion on their side that they had original designs.
I also want to know why
it comes down to all
why
of
was
this.
it excluded? I haven't seen any rationale for why the judge said that no, we can't have this evidence.
It seems like more and more of these judges are like, these are frivolous. This is a waste of time. You guys are being petty. Move it on.
Eric, as a consumer, should we care about this? I mean, we can buy the Galaxy Nexus. That injunction's been stayed.
Right. I don't think so. I mean, do you guys really think that this is well spent time for the consumer to worry about this kind of stuff? I feel like this is really high level stuff, and let the big companies fight it out, and then you're going to get your products eventually anyway. I don't see how this affects what products you're going to be getting in the future or the quality of those products. And I think Iyaz is right about the Samsung lawyer making a very movie-like move in trying to enter this evidence into the court. And I think he just wanted, he was waiting for the judge to play along with him, to go along with the joke and, this kind of movie-like thing. And she just didn't do it. In every movie I've seen, there's always a scene where someone says, well, I have new evidence, and the judge always says, yeah, I'm going to allow this, but you didn't really get that scene here. And I think, it was.
Judge Koh did not read her lines.
She did not read her lines. She didn't get the script. She didn't get the changes, I think. And,
she didn't get the dailies.
Yeah, exactly. It was
this is the end of the show twist. This is the twist, is that it's different.
Right.
Exactly. Right.
And there was a lens flare.
Yes.
Speaking of lens flares and watching videos, let's talk about Amazon showing up on the iPad, actually on the iPhone too. There's an Amazon video app for iOS.
Actually, it doesn't work on iPhone.
Is it just on the
yet.
iPad?
It's iPad only right now, unless something changed in the last 2 hours, which is very possible. But Amazon introduced its its instant video app for iPad, and I downloaded it right here. And it's just a player. It's kind of like the Kindle, right? We have no ability to purchase directly through it. You do have a whisper sync, so if you start a video somewhere else, you can watch it here. You can download videos directly to this, which is kind of neat, so you can watch offline. And you can access Prime. I think the Prime selection is limited. But your library, I'm trying to get my library over here. I have Friday Night Lights. You can watch things from here, right from the application. So it's actually quite good. AirPlay works audio only, not video. You can't send video. At least I tried it out.
What if you AirPlay the screen?
I think you can mirror the screen.
You can mirror the screen, so you can, there's a workaround.
But you'll have that weird, like, you'll have all those borders and things. So this is an interesting move for Amazon that they decided to go ahead and introduce an iOS app, iPad only, right now. Why now? Why would Amazon wait till now about this? I mean,
Kindle Fire sales have dropped significantly. Why not have an app that gets people to be using Amazon on a regular basis on the tablet that many more people have?
Eric,
sure. Yeah, it keeps, it's mindshare, I guess. It keeps the Amazon name, the streaming Amazon Prime name out there in the market, while, like Sarah said, Kindle Fire sales have been dropping. And it is kind of weird because there's still that rumor about the Kindle Fire 2 being announced sometime soon. It's supposed to be announced at the end of last month, or that was the rumor. That's what the rumor said. So it is kind of a weird timing. I don't know if it was maybe this is the way that they scheduled it, and it just took this long to get the app working. I have no idea.
I think it's a smart move on Amazon's part, where they realize that their strategy on ebooks should also be their strategy on video. They don't restrict selling ebooks to just the Kindle platform. They make Kindle apps for Android. They make Kindle apps for iOS. They make Kindle apps for the freaking Mac and Windows, so you can run them on your desktop. And they say, we're gonna sell a bunch of ebooks, and we're going to try to provide the best way to read the ebooks through our Kindle devices. And I think that's what they're doing with video. They realize, you know what, we need to do that same thing. Get people who are using iOS to buy videos from Android, and then when it's time for them to buy a new device, show them that the new Kindle Fire, or whatever they come out with next, is the best way to watch it because we can integrate better. We can show you the videos better, but don't shut them out. People who have iOS devices right now are less likely to buy videos from Amazon if they're like, well, I can't really watch it on the device I carry with me.
Let's do a quick round the horn. Place your bets. When is the Android version going to be available? Because right now, it's just on Amazon's version, Amazon Kindle Fire, and their version.
So it is on Android.
When is it going to be on general Android? Excuse me, on the Google Play Store.
Well, again, I mean, if you go by what Tom was just explaining on Amazon's model, the sooner the better, really. I mean, I think the more people who have devices that they love and use regularly, that can also purchase through Amazon without even having to think about it, is good for Amazon, because that's how they make their money.
Yeah, but what's kind of weird about that, though, is if that's their general strategy, is that they're going to open it up, why didn't they do that now? Like, they already have it working on Android. They have it working on their version of Android, so it's not like they have to go through this, I would imagine, this huge process of, like, converting it into a format that works on Android. It already does.
I can watch Amazon videos on my Nexus 7 right now.
Via Flash.
Via Flash in the Dolphin browser, right? Yeah. So it's less of a pressure. I think of Amazon as being on Android, even though there's not an app for it. Although I'm not saying they shouldn't come out with an app, and they absolutely should. Eric, what do you think?
Well, I think that, yeah, you can watch Amazon Prime videos on your Nexus 7 or any Android tablet right now, through Flash. But I guess the presentation of that system, the presentation of Amazon Prime on the Kindle Fire, I mean, that is the best way to kind of experience Prime on a mobile device, in my experience at least. I did some testing a few months ago comparing watching Prime videos on the base Android OS versus watching on the Kindle Fire, and I much rather watch on the Kindle Fire. And I kind of think that maybe they're going to release this app now on iOS, and then maybe in a month release it on Android, and then come out with the Kindle Fire 2 and say, well, that's great, but we have the Kindle Fire 2, and we also have all these new features for Prime that are exclusive to the Kindle Fire. So like Tom was saying, they can kind of have their cake and eat it too.
All right, let's talk about freedom in the Star Wars universe. Electronic Arts realized that as they tightened their grip, the more subscribers slipped through their fingers.
Nice.
Tor subs for the Old Republic, Star Wars The Old Republic, their online game, fell below 1 million for the first time in Q1. They've been steadily going down. It was 1.3 million last quarter, 1.7 million the quarter before that. Now, EA says they need 500,000 subscribers to break even on the game, but president of EA Labels, Frank Gibeau, says that's not good enough. We don't want to just like wait until we fall to 500,000. We want that subscriber number to go back to going up. So they're moving to a two-tiered pricing model starting this autumn. $14.99 a month for a subscription gets you a bunch of unlimited access to the game. But if you don't want to pay anything, you can play the game for free, get all of the content that is in the universe, all the way up to the maximum level of 50 without paying anything.
Now, I'm not familiar enough to know how long it might take the average person to get to level 50, but I would think that would matter. I mean, if you can blow through really quickly, then you're much more likely to say, I love this game. I'm going to go ahead and shell out $15 a month. Not the end of the world. But if it takes a while, and with, I don't know, attention spans as low as they are these days, and with other options,
it's less
it's kind of a gamble.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, this kind of breaks my heart, really, to hear this news. I mean, not because of the Star Wars franchise or anything. I think I lost any kind of reverence or affinity I had for that franchise about 13 years ago. But BioWare is a great developer, and for the last few years, 8 years, they've been putting out hit after hit after hit, and it's kind of disheartening to hear that they tried something here, and I was about to say they tried something new. They didn't really try anything new except for the whole voice thing. I mean, it's WoW with Star Wars, but it's just kind of disappointing to see that it's still a quality game, and it's kind of disappointing to see that they're not able to meet their goals here, because I really like that developer.
Blizzard has talked about the fact that their subscribers to Warcraft have declined recently. Now, it's been a long time since Cataclysm, the last expansion, came out, so that may be expected. But it does seem like MMOs in general are not faring well right now. Warcraft has a new expansion coming out September 25th, Mists of Pandaria, and that is timed conveniently to be around the time that the Old Republic is going to go free to play. So I think they're trying to hedge their bets against losing any more subscribers to people going back to playing Warcraft. But I think it's interesting. Go ahead.
I feel like these expansion packs, or expansions for WoW at least, are becoming kind of stopgaps. They're kind of being scheduled to diminish the detrimental effects of losing subscribers. And a few people will come back for a few months, and they'll be able to put out press releases that they have a this many number of subscribers right now because of the expansion pack, because of people are excited, and people will start talking about Warcraft again. But give it 3 or 4 months after the release, people either leave, and it basically becomes WoW again. And that's one of the reasons I left WoW, was because it was that game. It was WoW. And that's one of the reasons I played Star Wars for like 2 weeks before I figured out, oh, this is just WoW. Okay, I don't want to play this anymore. I don't want to devote 7 hours of my life per night playing this game and not doing anything else. And I think, I don't know, I mean, that's my perspective, and perspective of a married man who wants to spend time with his wife and wants to do other things, and so
you keep telling yourself.
Yeah, exactly, right. But it's hard to do that when or at least it was hard for me to do that while I was still really into this game, and I felt obligated to play this game and addicted to this game.
Yeah, plenty of people are still playing these games, but you're right. Maybe there's a saturation point in society that we've reached, at least maybe here in the United States. And free-to-play is becoming the norm. I mean, even Warcraft allows you free-to-play access up to, I think, level 20 right now. So,
but is it about the money? Do you think it's about the money? You think it's a whole free-to-play thing? Like, I didn't quit these games because they were charging me $12 to $15 a month. I quit these games because they were taking too much time, and I wasn't getting enough benefit out of playing them.
But if they're trying to lure you back, you're going to be able to fend them off more easily if you have to pay, because you'll say, I can't afford it. But if they're like, no, it's free, Eric,
free, man.
Come on back.
Free. Come on.
I think the saturation point argument is actually pretty good, because let's say there's somebody who's just curious and I want to try out the Star Wars game. They might not have even tried World of Warcraft. They're like, okay, this is free and it's got my favorite characters, as opposed to going, oh, I've already tried this game. I've played this game 1,000 times. I think what free-to-play is going to do with this option, it's going to expand that user base. So people might not stick around, but if they can get this game in the hands of a lot more people, or at least if they can get a lot more people playing it, they have a better chance of getting more customers in the long run. Because after a while, you might just go look over at your computer. Hey, what's that game? Oh, that's Star Wars? I didn't know they had a game like that. Try it out. It's free, and you keep growing that way.
Kind of like the Spotify model. Give a lot of stuff for free. Most people will never pay a dime, but the more people you have in the free pool, the more people, even a small fraction of it, will end up paying for
And a lot of folks are pointing out in the chat room that several of these games that have gone free to play make more money on the in-game purchase model, especially if, like Lord of the Rings, or in this case, what they're going to do with the Old Republic, they give you a subscription option as well. That's sort of get everything. You can either pay as you go for little pieces of things, or you can pay $15 a month and get the whole caboodle without having to pay for each individual thing. Because some people will start free to play because that's easier, and then realize, you know what, I'm playing this enough, it's worth $15 a month, not to have to deal with like, oh, I got to go buy some more. What are they calling them? Coins? They're calling the cartel coins to be able to purchase gear and get access to raids and stuff like that.
Coinings?
My metachlorian level's low. I got to go put the credit card in again. I think free-to-play is inevitable because folks are realizing that they can make more money off of it, and there's less of a barrier to entry. And I'm interested to see what Blizzard does, not necessarily with Warcraft, but with their new franchise, codenamed Project Titan. We don't know when it's coming out, what it's going to be, but there's a lot of speculation on whether that would be a free-to-play, or at least have a huge free-to-play option to it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about security. Enough about fun video games. Dropbox reports that the team that they had hired, we talked about this on Tech News Today, they had an outside team come in to investigate the spamming issue, has made their first discovery. An employee account, as we mentioned in the news fuse, was accessed with a stolen password. And there was also that unrelated hacking of Dropbox user accounts. Essentially, people using the same password multiple places. One site gets hacked, they try all the sites. Dropbox is going to do a bunch of things. They're going to offer two-factor authentication, so you get a code on your phone every time you want to log in. That way it's something you have as well as something you know. They're going to give you a page with active logins, so you can check and see, am I the only person logged in? Is it only my devices that are accessing Dropbox? And they're going to come up with more automated mechanisms to try to detect unusual behavior. But the question is this worse or better than your own security issues on your own local hard drive? Does this dissuade you from using the cloud? Eric, would start with you. What do you think? Does this change your opinion on cloud security, using the cloud to rely on it for your data?
No, I'm pretty good about cycling my my passwords. So, and let me try to find a piece of wood here.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
knock on wood and say so far I haven't had any problems. So no, I like the cloud. I like using the cloud. It's convenient. You can access anywhere, and it's I'm not going to stop because of this.
I'm going to be a little bit more wary, and I got to be better on my password management. I got to say that much. But the thing about Dropbox is they're basically a victim of their own success. I mean, they are one of the easiest ways to put your stuff on the cloud, and it syncs up everything really simply. And because of that, it's one of the popular things to go after. So this idea that you have to be more careful about what you put in the cloud, like, actually, there are ways you can do this on your own. You can have like a password protected like DMG file in there. A lot of different things you can do to make sure that even if you're syncing up your files, that even if somebody got into it, there's still another layer of encryption. Yeah,
BoxCryptor is a great one. BoxCryptor.com works apparently really well with Dropbox. I don't use it myself. I use TrueCrypt, but it actually allows you to keep access to all of the files the way Dropbox works by just encrypting them as they go there and then decrypting them as they come back to you. So you're right. There's a lot of stuff you can do yourself. Sarah, do you think it's more insecure to have your security in someone else's hands, though?
I am not afraid of the cloud for the same reasons that have already been discussed. Password management on the part of the user is extremely important. I love how convenient storing my documents online is so that I could get them from a variety of places. What I do think is Dropbox has been the darling of cloud-based document management and sharing stuff for a while, even though it has a lot of competitors. I think what will emerge in the next, 6 to 12 months is if Dropbox continues to have problems and something like Box.net or Microsoft's offerings or
Spider Oak
exactly doesn't, we might see a shift in what is the service to be using. And that'll change for Dropbox.
Yeah, I think the key thing here, I wish, okay, I'll be the naysayer then. The key thing here is don't trust the cloud. Your security is in someone else's hands, and that's not a good situation to be in. Now, I personally am not someone who thinks the cloud is any more or less risky than hosting the data locally. You can have hard drive failures, you can have power outages, you can have internet outages at home. You can also be hacked. You can get malware on your own machine that gives them access to all the files on your machine. So I think it's just the same common sense precautions need to be applied to the cloud as need to be applied at home. Encrypt things, use secure passwords, use long passwords, don't use the same password for multiple services. And I'm sure they're going to talk more about this on Security Now with Steve Gibson, which records right after Tech News Today. So if you're interested in how to improve your security, that's a show you definitely want to check out.
Yeah, if you can remember all of your passwords on all of your networks, you're doing it wrong.
Trust no one.
That's good advice.
Tom, would you also say that you should not put important files or incriminating files on the cloud? I mean, I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm just kind of asking.
I wouldn't say that absolutely, but I would say you should very much limit putting important files in the cloud, and you should absolutely put them in a place that you trust is secure. You should either encrypt them, password protect them. You should encrypt them.
Should you build a
and
vault in your home to put your computer in where the documents are that are very incriminating?
You should only print the documents out and then delete all
safe.
files of them. No, just be careful. And yeah, I think those kinds of sensitive files need to be in as few places as necessary. You need to have backups of them, obviously, but those backups should be secure. And they can be as secure in the cloud as they can locally. The difference is, don't forget that someone else has access to them. So make sure that the service you're using can't break your encryption. If you're using something like Boxcryptor, they can't because they don't have the key to it. But if the service offers encryption, you got to trust that they're not going to unlock your encrypted files and give them to somebody else.
Incidentally, I had an undead warlock named Boxcryptor in Warcraft a few years ago.
You played a
foreshadowing.
Lock?
Wow. I'll be here all week.
That's how long it's been since you played.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody plays a warlock. Let's talk about Facebook getting mobile in it, and Google trying to buy their ads.
Yeah,
sort of.
So this has been such a topic of hot debate ever since Facebook went public. Facebook's mobile usage is on the rise. There are fewer ads in the mobile versions for many people who use Facebook regularly. Isn't that going to mean that Facebook's revenues are going to go down and hurt the company? The latest information comes from Facebook itself and their latest SEC filing. The numbers are, well, okay, we'll just go through the numbers. 102 million people accessed Facebook only from mobile in the month of June. So not on a desktop and mobile, just mobile specifically, which is a 23% increase over the 83 million people who did the same in March. So quite a big increase. 18.7% of Facebook's 543 million monthly mobile users don't even visit a desktop version of Facebook ever. Now, some people out there say the mobile version of Facebook sucks. How could you possibly do that? Well, not everybody agrees, clearly.
Some people just say Facebook sucks, too.
That's true. But there are, I don't know about the habits of all of you, but I will use Facebook via my iPad app or, my iPhone if I've got to look up an event or something. But I really do prefer the desktop experience. Not everybody agrees, or they don't have access to one. The stock was down a bit on this news, but there's also some interesting numbers coming out of U.S. growth. U.S. growth the U.S. is where Facebook makes the majority of its money on ads because they can charge a really high CPM rate. Only 10% growth, up to 168 million in the U.S. this last year. So a gain of 15 million users in the last 12 months compared to a global average of 29%. So global average, you think, well, isn't that really the most important thing? Because Facebook is growing in emerging markets like Brazil, where it was up over 100%. India was up 84%. But again, ad rates in U.S. are higher. So the upward trending of users is good, but it doesn't mean more users just means all that much more money. It's money in smaller increments. The key issue really, too, is Mobile displays an occasional sponsored story. We talked about that a few days ago. In many cases, I never even see any. I'm certainly not clicking on them. The web version, you might see up to 7 ads at once on a single page. Now, some studies that had come out from some API partners of Facebook say, well, mobile sponsored stories, when we see them, are getting over 13 times click-through rates. So the click-through rates are really, really strong. It's just that there are fewer ads, and you have to, I guess, trust that those click-through rates won't recede over time.
It's not just the novelty aspect of it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, what is the company that Google just bought? Sorry, Wildfire. Wildfire Interactive was bought by Google, and that is a social media ad firm that buys spots on social media sites like Facebook.
So is Google going to shut off the tap and say we're not going to buy, Wildfire's not going to buy ads from Facebook anymore? Or what is this about? Or are they just going to say, Wildfire, we need your expertise in placing ads on Google+?
Well, I'm sure. I mean, that's why Google acquired Wildfire. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there's some sort of a rev share deal that the companies could strike. That would be a really interesting shift, considering that they don't play nicely now. But then also you think about Facebook's acquired some interesting companies that could be a really good source of revenue, but it would require them to shift their strategy. Karma is a company that they bought recently, which is one of these users send each other actual gifts, not virtual, like a piece of cake.
Not a picture of a gift.
And when it's Tom's birthday and I see that in my news feed or on my right-hand rail, I could choose to send him a box of chocolates, real chocolates.
I'll actually get a box of chocolates.
You will actually get a box of chocolates. Yeah, because I'm sitting right here. It's actually a really good idea. But then Facebook ends up taking the cut of whatever that transaction fee is. They already have pretty good virtual engagement. The real world physical goods engagement is still what we have to see how that's going to work out for Facebook, but they might be forced to try a lot of this stuff out going forward.
I mean, the Facebook site's built for the desktop. That's where it started. It makes a lot of sense real estate-wise where you'd put things on a web page. But when you have that limited space on a mobile device, you have to be really careful, especially in Facebook's position, because they've had enough bad press. If they have like 15 ads in a row when you're going through your news feed, or they have a always on ad or something, this is where they can really start getting some bad press and lose users. They don't want to show that, oh, look, we're actually monetizing our ad on mobile, but we're losing users because we're annoying them. So it's a really delicate balance. They have to walk on this really narrow line. Like, how can we put up enough ads that are relevant? Because don't forget, Facebook has all the information they could possibly want about you because you voluntarily gave it up. They can give you the best ads. They just need to figure out what is the best way to show these ads and what's the best ratio, because that's really the key. Because if they annoy enough customers, then it doesn't matter how many people are clicking if they lose a lot of users.
Right. I mean, part of the reason I think that these sponsored stories have such great click-through rates is because we're not seeing that many of them. So they're not intrusive enough for me to say, screw this, I'm not even going to Facebook mobile anymore. It's just too ad heavy. That will drive users away. It always does.
Don't get ad blind. All right, let's finish up with these new leaks about a tablet coming from Lenovo. People getting pretty excited about this stuff. Hot presentation slides.
I guess I was excited about it because I'm very curious about the Windows 8 machines.
Eric, you excited about these?
Windows 8 tablets?
Yeah.
Other than the Surface, not really.
Well, you might like this because it's a lot like the Surface. It's a 10-inch touchscreen, 2 gigs of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage. It runs an Intel processor. It's going to redefine business. It's got a keyboard dock and a...
It's going to redefine
Wait, do
business.
we have that confirmed?
I did put the quotes up. For audio listeners, I put the quotes up.
Template PR crap.
Because they want to... Obviously, Lenovo goes after enterprise all the time. It makes sense why they would do this here. But they have a keyboard dock, a stylus, NFC, fingerprint reader, HSPA Plus or LTE if you want it, track point on that keyboard, cameras galore, 2 megapixels on the front, 8 on the back. I guess, I mean, Eric, you seem not too excited about the tablets when it comes to Windows 8, but is this kind of tablet plus keyboard optional dock thing what we're going to keep seeing from these manufacturers?
I think you'll see that option a lot. I think the Transformer line, Asus's Transformer line, kind of showed the benefits of having a keyboard dock option, and I think a lot of people really responded positively to having that. I one of the things tablets get criticized for a lot, at least in people I talk to, is that they're hard to type on. You know, you're typing on the touchscreen. It's not always as accurate as you would like. You don't get that tactile feedback. So I think having that kind of midpoint between laptop and tablet, I think you're going to see that more for sure.
I think Lenovo's smart in that they're realizing that while Apple is trying to make inroads into enterprise, they are much less dominant there than they are with the consumer space. And that's what all these Windows 8 tablet makers are going to do is try. Yeah. They're going to come up with crazy taglines like redefining business, but they're going to target the enterprise and say, hey, you're running Windows already on your desktop. We know you are. Here's a tablet that's going to integrate into your system very easily. And
Lenovo didn't do anything crazy by introducing, like at least in the slides, there's no ARM-based version. This is an Intel-based device, which means it still can access all the desktop. The full-on old applications will still work on this device. I think that's, I mean, it's an intelligent move. I guess the news there is Lenovo didn't do something crazy. They didn't go with ARM on this kind of device, which also probably means there was no price given yet. I'm very curious about the price because I still want to know what the Surface costs because Microsoft said it'll be comparable to the other ones, so we have no idea.
All right, let's finish up with the randomizer.
Randomizer.
Bill Nye the Science Guy was all coy when he did his Reddit AMA session saying, oh, if I were to bring back the Science Guy, it'd have to be with the right producer. Well, I guess the right producer was Chris Hardwick because the Nerdist YouTube channel has announced, Nerdist Hardwick announced it on his podcast, that Bill Nye will be coming to the Nerdist channel on YouTube doing a science show.
Our subreddit loved this story. 137 upvotes for the Bill Nye Science Guy coming to YouTube. I grew up watching Bill Nye the Science Guy, and I learned a lot from it. It's like I know a lot of people I like Mr. Wizard, or I like this. It's like it's just another. If you grew up with it, you're more likely to get maybe a Google TV or an Apple TV, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to look into YouTube's channels a little bit more.
Yeah, because there's no other place online where I can learn how to tie a tie.
Oh, Bill Nye.
I need Bill Nye for that.
Way of introducing you to the.
I'm sorry, I'm a naysayer.
Like, there's no way to get tech news other than listen to it.
Eric, I heard you say this is cool. You're a big Bill Nye fan.
Yeah. This only works if they bring back the Bill Nye the Science Guy theme song, that kind of dance party theme song that played at the end of every episode. If they don't bring that back, I'm not watching. Just saying.
They may not be able to do that. That may be proprietary theme song.
Well, I'm not watching then, Tom.
There you go, Bill Nye. The challenge has been laid. Let's check the calendar.
The new Dig.com has launched. They have rethunk Dig. Indeed, it's very different than it used to be, including no comments. So not a lot of troll comments. In fact,
no trolls when you can't comment.
Yeah, well, they're there.
Yeah,
they're just silenced.
Silent trolls.
Yeah, it seems like for the most part, a lot of the feedback has been positive. But we'll see what we think in another week or so. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. Nintendo is going to launch red and blue DSi devices as early as later this week. The DSi, of course, was a predecessor to the 3DS, and Nintendo already sells it in a few other colors: black, pink, a lighter blue. Now you have blue, darker blue, and red. Google has delayed the Nexus Q indefinitely and has lowered its price to free for anybody who pre-ordered.
So you can't get it, but it's free.
Basically, if you already thought you were getting one, this isn't going well. We're not even going to ship anything, but you don't have to pay anything.
We made a bunch of them, so we'll just give them to you.
Something like that. Left 4 Dead 2 Coldstream DLC for Xbox 360 is coming to you this Friday if you want it.
Download it. Left 4 Dead 2 is an awesome game. Let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Bob wrote in and said, I cannot believe you, and I believe by you he means Jason and Sarah, sided with William Shatner's version of the Mars video. I believe I am a unique demographic to judge, as I remember watching the original Shatner Star Trek and arguing for its importance while waiting for the school bus the next day, and I watched The Next Generation with my own children and just finished listening to another novel narrated by Will Wheaton, Red Shirts. Shatner wins only if you listen to about 2 seconds worth. If you listen to each end to end, then it is clear. As someone said during the show, Shatner phoned it in. Will was actually excited by what was to come and managed to enunciate each word without flaw. I demand a recount.
Do you want to do a recount?
A lot of people would be excited.
I think the count would be
about what was to come.
Same. Yeah.
I just like his voice. What can I tell you?
Yeah, I just thought Will Wheaton
opinion
was just
stands.
a little too energetic. Ugh.
Yeah. You don't want somebody to be enthusiastic about space, right?
No, not too enthusiastic.
Keep your cool. It's space.
Yeah.
Darren in Kansas City writes in and says, love the show. Quick note about Google Fiber. I live in Kansas City and my girlfriend signed our house up for fiber. Luckily, our fiber hood made its goal. She mentioned that in order to pay the $10 registration fee, which counts towards your first bill, she had to open a Google Wallet account. And apparently, this is the only payment method that they'll be accepting in the future for fiber services. Not a big surprise, but it would certainly be a major push for Google Wallet, especially if they take this beyond Kansas City.
Just like tap your technician with your phone. There you go. You paid him. You're all set. Last email from Jared, the front-end engineer. TNT crew, with the launch of Chrome 21 yesterday, everyone is talking about how it is now Retina ready on OS 10. But what I haven't seen much mention is that Chrome on Windows 8 will install a Metro-style version of Chrome on your start screen. Or replace your shortcut to the desktop version. The versions are separate, so tabs open in one are not open in the other, but it is Chrome, so all those features are there. Also, after install, there was a notification saying that a new application could open web links and which browser I wanted to use to open those links.
I just hope it doesn't mess up any of my current installations, because right now Chrome's working for me on all platforms. And I like it that way. I like it working, not working.
Browsers that work are nice.
Yeah. That's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Thanks for everybody submitting stories in our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. And big thanks to our moderators who help keep it clean. It definitely helps us figure out what stories we talk about each day. It's why we talked about the Bill Nye story in the randomizer, because we had 128 people vote for it. So go in there. Even if you don't have time to submit stories, which we would like you to do, just vote on the stories you see that have already been submitted. Let us know yes or no. You can vote things down as well. technewstoday.reddit.com. Eric Franklin, thank you for joining us. Always great to have you. Let folks know what you're doing over there at CNET, where they can find your work.
Right now, I'm contemplating whether I should see The Dark Knight Rises in IMAX or not, or just kind of judge it based on the normal viewings that I've had.
See it in IMAX.
Yeah, really?
Yes.
Okay, all right. There it is. Settled. That's what I'm doing. Oh, I'm reviewing tablets too and monitors still at cnet.com. So check that out if you feel so inclined.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Our email address is tnt@twit.tv. And you can phone us. Pick up your rotary dial phone.
Phone it in.
Call 260-TNT show. Just phone in your comment. Or you can even send us MP3s. That works, too. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We got Danny Sullivan from Search Engine Land on tomorrow. That'll be fun. See you then.